In the heart of the Oyo Empire, during the late 19th century, reigned a formidable king named Oba Adegoke, known throughout the lands for his fierce demeanor and unwavering leadership. King Adegoke was a master strategist and a warrior, unafraid to defend his kingdom from any threats. He donned the regal color of deep indigo, which symbolized strength and authority, a representation of both his station and his unyielding spirit. His Queen Yemi was a figure of intelligence and grace, with a mind as sharp as a knife and a heart that beat in rhythm with her people. Queen Yemi complemented Adegoke's fierceness with her wisdom. Together, they formed a powerful duo that inspired loyalty and unity among the people of Oyo. In the majestic Oyo Empire, King Oba Adegoke and Queen Yemi were celebrated not just for their steadfast rule, but also for their deep love for one another. Despite reigning for many years, their hearts bore the weight of longing. They had no children to continue their legacy. The couple often prayed at the sacred grove, seeking divine favor for a child who could inherit their wisdom and strength. Then, one fateful day, just as the first rains of the season fell, fortune smiled upon them. Queen Yemi, and her radiant glow and an abundance of joy in her heart, announced that she was expecting a child. The royal palace erupted in celebrations, and drums echoed through the village, and the people of Oyo rejoiced, believing that the blessings of their revered Obatala had finally bestowed upon their king and queen. However, amid their joy one night, King Adegoke was troubled by a strange dream. In his dream, he found himself wandering through a lush verdant landscape that seemed both familiar and ethereal. Before him stood a lioness, his coat shimmering under the moonlight. The lioness, with great effort, gave birth to a cub that instantly grew to full size in the blink of an eye. Much to his astonishment, the young lion then chased after its mother with the intention to mate, displaying an intensity that both fascinated and unsettled King Adegoke. In the heart of the Oyo Empire, dreams were not mere illusions of the night. They were believed to be profound messages from the gods, filled with significance and warnings. As he awoke with the dawn, his heart was heavy with confusion. What did this bizarre dream mean? Driven by an obligation to protect his kingdom and family, Oba Adegoke sent for the chief priests. When the chief priest arrived, his demeanor was grave, and he wore an expression as serious as if the heavens themselves had fallen. Without delay, the king recounted his strange dream, one that filled with dread. The chief priest listened intently, then immediately consulted the oracle. His face darkened, casting a shadow over the room. "Your Majesty," he said with trembling voice, "I must speak to you in private." However, Oba Adegoke, resolute and protective, insisted that Queen Yemi remain present. "She stays," he declared, "whatever you have to say concerns us both." Reluctantly, the chief priest proceeded, revealing the disturbing implication of the king's vision. "O king, this dream is a dire warning. It speaks of desires that defies nature and upset balance in our kingdom. You must tread carefully. The child to come may carry both great darkness and light. It is foretold that he will kill you at the junction where three paths meet, and he will marry his mother." The room fell silent as the weight of the priest's words set in. You must terminate the pregnancy, the chief priest concluded with a heavy heart. Both Oba Adegoke and Queen Yemi recoiled in disbelief. The queen's voice trembled with a mix of horror and defiance as she echoed, "Terminate the pregnancy? After so many years of yearning for a child? But how can such a fate be determined for a child not yet born?" The king protested, his temper flaring. The queen, embodying reason and strength, interjected, "Is there a possibility that this fate can be altered? Surely destiny cannot be so rigid." The chief priest, his voice nothing but a whisper, replied, "Such alterations happen once in 1,000 years. Destiny is intricately woven and binds us all." Yet the queen, never to surrender easily, declared with still resolve, "We shall wait. Let him be born. If darkness follows him as he grows, then we will know what must be done." With the chief priest's reluctant departure, a somber mood settled over the opulent palace, where superstitions and hopes intertwined like the vines in their lush gardens. The months unfolded with both anxious anticipation and dread. The couple prepared for the birth of their child, an entity that held the potential for either destruction or salvation. Finally, the time arrived. Under a low-hanging moon, Queen Yemi gave birth to a healthy baby boy, his wails breaking the stillness of the night. This moment, however, remained shrouded in secrecy, shared only among 5 souls: the king, the queen, the chief priest, the high priest, and the midwife. As the baby was cleaned and lovely saddled, King Adegoke's heart raced. He couldn't shake the ominous prophecy that loomed over him. Once the child was ready, the king, his voice barely above a whisper, commanded the chief priest to discern whether the boy's fate remained unchanged. The chief priest, his gaze deep and mysterious, performed the sacred rite, his hands guided by his unseen force. When he spoke again, his words echoed the toll of death knell. "Your Majesties, the boy's destiny remains as foretold. He is destined to bring about your downfall and marry his own mother." A thick, suffocating silence enveloped the room, as confounding and heavy as a storm cloud. The king and queen exchanged sorrowful glances, their hearts entwined in despair. The king's voice trembled as he faced the reality of their situation, burdened with the weight of impending fate. The king ordered 2 of his loyal palace guards to take the baby to the evil forest and end his life there. With a heavy heart, the palace guard lifted the swaddled child in their arms. The baby called softly, blissfully, unaware of the darkness that loomed overhead. As they traversed the winding path to the forest, the guard's mind was flooding with doubt. Is this truly justice? They pondered. What harm could a defenseless child bring? Arriving at the ominous edge of the forest, the palace guard looked down at the baby. His eyes sparkled like diamond, innocent and pure, and the tiny hand reached out, clutching at the air. Overcome with compassion, the palace guard found themselves unable to follow through with the king's cruel command. The guards weaved a small basket and put the baby in, and placed the basket under the root of an udala tree in the forest, and returned back to the king and told the king they had done it. Kelechi, a skilled hunter from the Mbaise kingdom, spent his days roaming the dense forest, harmonizing with nature's rhythm. One warm afternoon, while quietly tracking a herd of antelope, he heard a baby crying in the woods. Intrigued and concerned, Kelechi followed the sound deeper into the thickets, his heart racing. His journey led him to a woven basket tucked beneath the sprawling roots of a great udala tree. Nestled inside was a tiny baby boy, his fragile body shivering in the cold air, his skin turned pale. Rescue swelled within Kelechi as he cradled the infant closely to his chest. "You're safe now," he whispered, feeling an unexpected bond form between them. He named the baby Zulu, which meant peace bringer, convinced the baby was destined for greatness. Rushing back to his humble home, Kelechi did everything he could to warm the baby, wrapping him in blanket and placing him near the flickering fire. As Zulu's color slowly returned, Kelechi experienced a mixed feeling of joy and trepidation, knowing deep down he couldn't keep the child. As a solitary hunter, raising a baby without a wife would prompt suspicion among the villagers. Throughout the day, Kelechi stayed by Zulu's side, attending to his every need, yet his mind raced with thought of what to do next. That night, as the baby slept soundly in a makeshift cradle, Kelechi found himself speaking softly to him, his voice barely a whisper. "Little one, where did you come from?" His words hung in the quiet air, made only by the steady rhythm of Zulu's voice. "Who abandoned you in the forest?" The next morning, after ensuring Zulu was properly cared for, Kelechi made his way to the palace of King Solomon, the wise and just ruler of Mbaise Kingdom. Upon his arrival, he was granted an audience with the king and queen. King Solomon, a tall and imposing figure, appeared alongside his wife, Queen Anna, a woman known for her grace and wisdom. "I was informed you wished to see me," the king inquired, his deep voice resonating through the chamber. "Yes, your majesty," Kelechi replied, bowing respectfully. "I was hunting yesterday when I found this baby abandoned under an udala tree, almost dead from cold. His skin was pale, his brow furrowed as he carefully chose his words. I have tended to him, but I cannot care for him myself. The cloth he is wrapped in suggests he is not from our kingdom, but from somewhere far away." King Solomon glanced at Queen Anna, seeking her opinion on the matter. "What do you think?" he asked, his voice softening at the sight of the child. With a gentle smile, Queen Anna reached out and took Zulu into her arms. "I believe we should keep him here, and I will nurture him as my own." Her decision was not made lightly. She had given birth to 5 beautiful daughters, but had longed for a male child to carry on the royal lineage. This baby felt like a divine gift sent by the gods to fulfill their dreams. They thanked Kelechi for his honesty and bravery, rewarding him generously for his kindness. Before he left, Kelechi turned to the royal couple one last time and said, "His name is Zulu." That is how Zulu found his way to the royal palace of Mbaise, becoming the hidden hope of the realm. Only 4 individuals were privy to the truth: Kelechi, King Solomon, Queen Anna, and the chief guard who had escorted Kelechi to the palace. Determined to protect the child, the royal couple kept its existence a secret, spreading a tale that he had kept their son hidden from birth to shield him from potential harm. As years passed, Zulu grew into a handsome young man, beloved by all in Mbaise Kingdom. His humble nature, kindness, and unmatched strength endeared him to everyone, from the lowest commoners to the highest nobles. He excelled in every pursuit, wielding a sword and shooting arrows with uncanny precision, hunting fierce beasts, and dominating opponents in wrestling and other sports. Zulu became the pride of Mbaise Kingdom, a true warrior. But as often happens, fortune took a cruel turn. A terrible plague swept through the Mbaise Kingdom, striking down even the strongest men. The wise King Solomon succumbed to the sickness, despite the healer's best efforts. As the king's strength waned, the court began preparation for the inevitable transition of power, knowing that Zulu, the only male heir, would soon ascend the throne. Desperate to discern what the future held, the chief priest of Mbaise Kingdom was summoned to the palace. His task was to determine if Zulu's reign would bring prosperity. However, the revelation that followed sent shockwaves through the royal court. Inside the palace, the chief priest gathered with the queen, the 4 chief advisors, and the ancient court. His voice reverberated with a dire proclamation. This man's destiny is to kill his father and become king and marry his mother. Queen Anna's heart nearly stopped at those words, fear gripping her as the secret they had guarded for years loomed ominously over her. Overwhelmed, she excused herself from the gathering and pulled the chief priest aside. Zulu is not my biological child, she confessed, her voice trembling. The chief priest turned, asked, "What do you mean? How can Zulu not be your son?" In hushed tones, Queen Anna recounted the tale of how the child came to them, a baby found in the forest, brought by a humble hunter. The chief priest listened intensely, his expression turning grave with each detail. "And why are you just telling me now?" he asked quietly. "I need to know," Queen Anna implored urgently, "if this destiny is meant for us or for its true parents." The chief priest shook his head slowly. "It is impossible to say, my queen." The oracle words did not specify. "All I know is that the prophecy will come to pass. Zulu will kill his father at a place where 3 paths meet and become king. He will marry his mother." "No." Queen Anna's eye widened in terror. "What do we do now? What can we do?" Taking a deep breath, the chief priest replied, "We must tell Zulu, my queen. It is his destiny and he has the right to know. Only he can change it." With that, the chief priest departed, leaving Queen Anna alone with her tumultuous thoughts, the weight of the prophecy pressing heavily upon her. Determined to take action, she quickly sent 2 guards to find Zulu and bring him to the king's chamber at once. As the Queen Anna entered the chamber, her heart froze at the sight before her. Zulu stood before the king's bed, a knife in his hand, blood spattered everywhere, his chest heavy with heavy breath, his face a mixture of shock and horror. The queen let out a piercing scream, her voice echoing through the corridors as she fled the room, calling for the guards. In the moment, a number of guards gathered at the king's door, ready to storm him. The guards busted into the king's chamber, ready with their weapons. They saw Zulu standing next to the bed, a knife stained with blood in his hand, but instead of harm coming to the king, they were met with the sight of a large dead snake on the floor. Zulu had saved his father's life, but the relief in the room was mixed with a heavy tension. Zulu caught his mother's gaze, and hurt and disbelief swelled in his eyes. "Mother, why did you think I could kill someone? Even if I could, why would I ever hurt my father?" he asked, his voice filled with sadness and betrayal. Without waiting for a reply, he stormed out, leaving the queen alone with her fears. Later that evening, after the palace settled down, Queen Anna called Zulu back to the king's chamber. She wanted to tell him the truth about his fate, but felt frozen with fear. The king, still too weak to speak, couldn't help her, so the queen took a deep breath and told Zulu what was next for their kingdom. "You must take the throne," she said gently, "until your father is well enough to return." Zulu nodded with an unreadable expression and left the room quietly. Weeks went by, and by some amazing chance, King Solomon regained his strength. Just when he was ready to rule again, Queen Anna could no longer hide the chief priest's warning. She approached her husband with a troubled heart. "My love, what the chief priest told us is shocking," she said nervously. "What is it?" the king replied, worried. "The chief priest has seen Zulu's destiny," she explained, her voice shaking. "He is meant to kill his father and marry his mother." The king went pale, shocked by the news. "Is the chief priest sure?" Before she could answer, they heard noise outside the door. The queen rushed out and saw Zulu running towards the forest. "It's Zulu," she exclaimed, turned back to King Solomon. I think he heard everything. They both felt the dread that the prophecy they feared might begin to unfold. King Solomon, still processing the revelation, quickly called a trusted guard named Dibia. "Follow Zulu," the king commanded. "Don't come back without him." Dibia obeyed and followed Zulu as he left the palace, heading towards the thick forest near Mbaise kingdom. Zulu, deep in thought, noticed Dibia and told him to keep his distance. "Give me some space, Dibia. I need to think," Zulu said. The weight of the prophecy felt heavy on him. "Why is this my destiny? Kill my father and marry my mother? I can't do that," he thought bitterly. As he walked, Zulu began to form a plan. "If I don't return to Mbaise kingdom, then this destiny can't happen," he decided. He didn't know that the king and the queen of Mbaise kingdom were not his biological parents. With his decision made, Zulu called out to Dibia. "Are you with me?" he said confidently. "I am with you, my prince," Dibia replied quickly. Together, they began their journey away from Mbaise kingdom, leaving behind their home. Zulu was with a bow, arrow, and sword, while Dibia carried his own blade ready for whatever lay ahead. They trekked in silence, fatigue settling in as the sun began to set. "Let's rest here for the night," Zulu suggested, pointing to a clearing among the trees. Dibia saw Zulu preparing to leave and asked worriedly, "Where are you going, my prince?" "Dibia, can you stop calling me my prince? Just call me Zulu," he replied with a faint smile. Dibia hesitated. "Oh, Zulu, I can't do that," he said respectfully. "But that's an order," Zulu insisted. "You won't disobey me, would you?" After a moment, Dibia nodded. "Okay, Zulu." Satisfied? Zulu disappeared into the trees while Dibia set up camp for the night. When Zulu returned, he was carrying a large antelope on his shoulder. "Start a fire, Dibia," he instructed, dropping the antelope. Dibia quickly gathered wood and lit a fire. They cooked the antelope and enjoyed a good meal, which was a welcome relief after their long day. They sipped the last of their water and eventually fell asleep around the warm fire, the weight of their journey heavy in their minds. The next morning, they were woken up by hurried footsteps in the forest. Instinctively, they stood up and raised their swords, prepared to defend themselves. When the figures came into view, tension filled the air. The approaching men were familiar guards from Mbaise kingdom. When they spotted Zulu, they bowed. "My prince, the king has ordered us to bring you back to the palace," the leader of the guards said respectfully. "By force?" Zulu questioned, narrowing his eye. "No, my prince," the guard replied quickly. "The king would like to speak with you." "I refuse," Zulu said defiantly. "Tell him I'll return when I want. He doesn't need to worry about me." The guard seemed troubled, stuck between loyalty to the king and respect for Zulu. "I'm sorry, my prince. I can't do that. The king specifically said to bring you back." Anger grew in Zulu, his patience running out. "Then you'll have to fight me. I'll take down as many of you as I can before you touch me. Are you willing to test your luck?" The guard leader turned pale but stood firm. "Please, my prince, I'd rather not have a fight." After a tense moment, Zulu convinced the guards to leave without him. They understood they couldn't force him without consequences. Once the guards left, Zulu and Dibia quickened their pace through the forest, making sure to cover their tracks. They traveled for more than 2 moon cycles. Days turned into weeks as they explored unclaimed lands. Finally, they found an untouched fertile plot of land. "Dibia, we'll settle here," Zulu announced. Looking at the rich soil and endless horizon, "It feels like this land is meant for us. We'll farm here for a while." They got to work, using their strength to cultivate the area. They planted maize, beans, rice, wheat, cassava, yam, anything they could find. To their surprise, the crops grew abundantly. Just the two of them managed to turn the land into a thriving farm. As the year went by, their hard work paid off, and they ended up with way more crops that they could use. Dibia, we need to sell this produce and make some money, Zulu said excitedly. Then we can find another kingdom far from Mbaise. If you want to go back home, you can. However, figuring out the logistics proved to be tricky. They discussed ways to sell their crops, but dreaded how to transport so much produce. They didn't know any nearby kingdom or trade routes, leaving them uncertain. Back in Oyo Empire, things have taken a turn for the worst. A curse seemed to hang over the land. For 5 long years, the kingdom had faced terrible famine. Crops had failed, rivers dried up, and countless lives were lost as hunger spread. One night, King Adegoke had an unusual dream that woke him up from sleep. He saw a man walking through his kingdom, and with every step, green grass grew beneath his feet, healing the barren land. Startled, King Adegoke wasted no time. He called for the chief priest immediately. Feeling the urgency, the priest hurried to the palace. Once he arrived, the king recounted his dream to him. The chief priest thought carefully and said, "My king, you need to go on a journey." "A journey to where?" the king asked. "To the kingdom of the gods. You must make sacrifices and pray for the man destined to save us. But beware, he may lose his way without guardians." King Adegoke took the chief priest's words to heart. "I must leave at once," he said. "Please send for the high chief to help." The high priest arrived promptly after being summoned. "You called for me, my king. When I revealed my dream and the priest's messages, I need your help for this journey," King Adegoke explained. But the high chief answered took the king by surprise. "I cannot allow that, my king." "What do you mean you can't allow it?" King Adegoke was upset. "Are you challenging me?" "No, my king," the high chief replied, remaining calm. "I will go in your place to ensure your safety." King Adegoke's anger faded as he realized the high chief's intention. "I appreciate your concern, but this is something I must do myself. Get 2 of my best guards and prepare horses for our journey." The high chief hesitated. "Your Majesty, the horses are weak. They haven't been fed well, and I fear they can't make the journey." King Adegoke considered this and sighed. "All right, gather the guards and bring food enough for the journey. We will leave in the morning." The high chief bowed and left to fulfill the king's order. King Adegoke then went to discuss the journey with Queen Yemi. The next morning, everyone around the palace felt the weight of anticipation. King Adegoke stood ready to depart with 2 of his most trusted guards. The high chief and several other chiefs were there, alongside Queen Yemi, who appeared calm but worried. Before they set off, King Adegoke addressed the group. "I leave Queen Yemi in charge. Trust her as you would trust me." The high chief bowed, but inside he felt disappointed and angered. He hoped the king would let him take the throne. With that, the king began his journey. For 5 long weeks, he and his guards traveled through barren lands, the drought evident in every dried-up river and dead tree. One day, however, they discovered something miraculous: a lush farm thriving in the middle of drought-stricken area. "Amazing! What's happening here?" King Adegoke whispered in awe. He ordered his guards to search for the farm's owner. As they moved through the fields, suddenly a commanding voice stopped them. "Stop!" Zulu yelled, an arrow aimed at the 2 intruders. Alongside him, Azibia, ready for a fight. The guards froze. "We mean no harm," one said, raising his hands. "State your purpose or die," Zulu warned sternly. "Our king wishes to speak with the owner of this farm," said the second guard calmly. "And where is your king?" Zulu demanded. The king's guard led Zulu and Dibia to where King Adegoke was sitting, both men still wearing weapons at the ready. As they approached, King Adegoke smiled. "Hello, young man." "Hello," Zulu replied tersely, keeping his arrow aimed at the king. King Adegoke didn't flinch. "If I came with evil intentions, do you think you two could stop me and my whole army? I am King Adegoke of Oyo Empire." Dibia whispered urgently to Zulu. "I've heard of Oyo. He's a powerful king. We should be careful. If he is here with just 2 guards, that means his soldiers are close." Zulu thought about it and slowly lowered his arrow. "How can I help you, King Adegoke?" he asked. The king nodded, grateful for Zulu's willingness to listen. "For 5 years, my kingdom has suffered a serious famine and drought. It's been hard. Many people have left, and those who stayed are hungry," said King Adegoke. "Things are getting worse every day." Zulu asked, "Where are you going to now?" "I had a vision," King Adegoke explained. "My chief priest told me to go pray for the arrival of a savior destined to help my people." As they continued talking, King Adegoke suggested buying Zulu's crop to help feed the hungry. Zulu agreed to this plan. As evening fell, he then heard a rustling nearby, which raised his instinct. Believing they were being watched, he dismissed it as perhaps just an animal. Under the starlight sky, Zulu, Dibia, and King Adegoke shared a meal, relaxing a bit. But peace was shattered suddenly. Arrows flew through the air, catching them off guard. Before they could react, both of King Adegoke's guards fell lifeless. Zulu and Dibia jumped up into action, swords drawn, preparing to fight. Shadows shifted around them. More attackers dressed in black emerged, moving with speed and skill. Counting at least 10 enemies, Zulu didn't feel scared. He fought fiercely, his sword splashing as he defended himself. One attacker lunged, but Zulu sidestepped and struck, sending him down. Dibia also fought hard, taking down attackers. Every swing of his sword was precise, allowing him to dismantle opponents quickly. Despite being outnumbered, they fought harder, with Zulu darting between enemies, his sword a blur. Just as they thought the battle might turn, 3 attackers fled, leaving Zulu and Dibia victorious but shaken. Breathing heavily, they looked around. 7 attackers lay dead, but King Adegoke was gone. Dibia shook on the king's guards. Zulu said urgently, "I'll search for Adegoke." He dashed into the forest, searching in the dark. Dibia focused on the injured guard, working to stabilize the one shot in the thigh, who was still alive. While Zulu searched tirelessly, he suddenly saw a figure at a crossroad, dressed similarly to the masked attackers. Blood on his sword, the figure looked as if he waited for the right moment. Without hesitation, Zulu drew his bow and aimed. "Show yourself," he demanded. The man said nothing, still facing away. "I said show yourself or die," Zulu threatened. Slowly, the figure turned and dashed towards Zulu, anticipating an attack. Zulu released his arrow, steady and true, aiming for the rushing figure. What do you think is about to happen next? Has the prophecy begun? Stay tuned for part 2. If you enjoyed the story and want more, please subscribe to my channel and turn on the notification. See you next time. Bye.